Next, we're going to have a look at the sine rule, and we're going to use the sine rule to find, calculate unknown side lengths and unknown angles of all triangles, including non-right angled triangles. Now, this particular video is going to focus on unknown sides, and then the next one will look at the unknown angles. Now, the sine rule applies to all triangles in that it looks at the ratio of the sine of an angle and its opposite side. And what it's saying is the sine of an angle and its opposite side is actually equal to all the other ratios of the sine of an angle and its opposite side. So what we have here is the sine of A divided by the opposite side of A is equal to the sine of B divided by the opposite of B is equal to the sine of C divided by the opposite of C. Now, we can actually do with these ratios, we can obviously flip it and say the same thing. And what I generally say here is these are the formulas I'd copy down, but I would say that it's easier to find the angles when you're using this, like having it in this form, and easier to find the sides when you flip it over like this. There's just less steps, algebraically speaking, to be able to find it when you represent it in that form. Hence the reason why I would have sort of, think about it in both ways. Now, in this video, we're going to focus on just using this to find unknown sides. So let's have a look at our example that we've got here. So our first step is going to be, as it has been in previous, is to label our triangle. Now, it's important here that we label it with ABC, with the opposites being, like the opposite of the vertices being ABC as well. Here, it doesn't actually matter how we label it for our formula, because what we're essentially going to do is we're going to use two parts of the formula each single time. So if this is my ABC, then this here will be my A, this will be my B, and then up the top here will be my C. And what I encourage you to do when you're first learning this is to actually record the information that you have down and also identify what you're actually trying to find. So I'm trying to find the side of B, which is my X centimeters here. The side that I know is my A, which is 23 centimeters. The angle that's opposite to A is 37 degrees. And the angle that's opposite to B is 48 degrees. Now, what's important here is when we're wanting to use the sine rule, essentially to use it, we need to have, pairs of opposites. So you can see here that I've got the pair of opposites of B, including the one that I'm after, and I've got pairs of opposites of A. And that allows me to use the sine rule here. Now, because I'm using it to find unknown sides, I'm going to look over here. And what I notice is I've got A and B, so I'm essentially going to ignore the C part of it and just write down my formula for this here. So I've got the ratio of A divided by the sine of A is equal to the ratio of B divided by the sine of B. So now with all formulas, we substitute our information in. So our A is 23. Our sine of A is the sine of 37 degrees. And that's equal to our B, which is what we're looking for, the X here, divided by the sine of B, which is 48 degrees. And now what I essentially have to do is I have to rearrange this to get X on its own. Now, because X is being divided by sine 48, to cancel that out, I need to do the opposite, which would be this multiply by the sine of 48. And I do that to both sides. So on the right-hand side, it will cancel. And on the left-hand side, although I'm going to flip it around, I'm actually just going to say it's X equals, so the left-hand side is going to write on the right-hand side. But it's going to be 23 times the sine of 48. Just remember, we don't have to write the multiply sign between that. And then that is divided by the sine of 37. Now, just to clarify, I've just written the left-hand side on the right-hand side, so I've got an X equals. And this is now something that I can plug into my calculator here to find the solution. So just give me a moment. So it's 23. Sine, I should check. Yeah, I'm in degrees. Good. Sine of 37. All right, and we're finding that this is approximately the side length, so it's 28.4, and then my units was centimeters. And that there's how we use the sine rule to be able to find a side length of any triangle, including right-angled and non-right-angled triangles. Now, what's key here is being able to identify what you need to be able to use the sine rule. And like I said, you basically need two pairs of opposites. Obviously, one of them being the one that you're trying to find. So you can see here that I was trying to find the x, and I did know the opposite angle, which is good. And I knew the opposites of these two, which is sufficient information to be able to use the sine rule.